From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
A NASA-ASU collaboration launched over the weekend. The details on their urban heat island mission straight from D.C.
Plus, farm to school. Find out how Arizona schools are working to close the nutrition gap through gardening.
And hemp harvesting, how new regulations for hemp cultivation on tribal lands are affecting one Navajo man's business.
Cronkite News starts now.
Hello, welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Annika Abbott.
And I'm Matthew Roy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. There's higher education, and then there's really higher education as outer space.
A satellite made by ASU students got a lift to the International Space Station this weekend, and Cronkite News reporter Brian Peach was on hand for the launch.
That was the sound of success for Sarah Rogers, one of the Arizona State University students who built a microsatellite launched here Saturday at NASA's Wallops Island Flight Facility on Virginia's eastern shore.
It means so much, and it's just beyond words how incredibly awesome that is to see everyone's hard work finally pay off.
The satellite, which took around 3 years to design and build, is about the size of a loaf of bread. It shared space on NASA's Cygnus rocket with 14 other CubeSats, along with supplies, a space oven, and live mice. The ASU CubeSat, named Phoenix, will orbit the Earth to measure temperatures in large cities to determine how building materials and urban design cause temperatures to rise.
The urban heat island effect leads to a rise in the surface temperature of the area, which leads to higher energy bills, heat exhaustion, things like that. And it also leads to climate change as well.
The satellite will gather data from several cities around the U.S., from Phoenix to Minneapolis.
So we want to take that data and give it back to urban planners so that way they can do something beneficial with it. We can make our cities more sustainable for future generations.
The rocket docked today with the International Space Station. Astronauts will launch the Phoenix CubeSat into orbit in January, where it will remain for about 2 years before falling back to Earth. At the NASA Flight Facility on Wallops Island, Virginia, Brian Peach, Cronkite News.
The ASU CubeSat went up as part of what NASA calls its rideshare program. The small satellites hitch a ride on regularly scheduled supply missions to the space station before being put into orbit. The next mission is scheduled for February from Wallops, where the next rocket is already being prepared.
If you live in a hot city like we do here in Phoenix, chances are you remember when things would cool off at night. An urban heat island. In this phenomenon, hot central cities gain heat throughout the day and stay hot into the night. And now scientists are taking thermal imaging technology to the next level to help with the lack of cool-off Phoenix has experienced in recent years.
Its mission is to take thermal images of the planet, cities across our planet, to study the urban heat island phenomenon. Here is a thermal camera. This is my FLIR. It's a thermal imaging camera that will be taking pictures of cities.
The images cube-sized satellites gather from around Phoenix help scientists calculate the intensity of urban heat islands. Health and nutrition experts say obesity and weight-related health issues are on the rise among Latinos, with 17% of them having type 2 diabetes. But one organization is using a unique way to improve health in underserved communities.
Farm to School aims to improve health through education about nutrition and agriculture. Around a quarter of Arizona school districts participate in the program.
I spoke to students in the garden club at Keller Elementary School in Mesa. On a school night in Mesa, Arizona, the Abazian family is preparing dinner.
You always want to go away from your body.
First grader Delaney is learning how to peel carrots, a vegetable she learned how to grow in her school garden club.
So it's a really fun activity for me, and I just love gardening so much.
About 30 kids participate in the after-school club once a week at Keller Elementary. The school is nearly 70% Latino, and 80% of the students receive free and reduced lunch.
We planted some sweet peas
Tell me, have you tried sweet peas?
No.
No? Do you think you will when they grow? Joe Wise and Lynette Casper started the school garden in 2007. It's part of the National Farm to School program. More than 50 Arizona school districts either have a garden or purchase locally grown foods, helping fill the nutrition gap.
But we also wanted to make sure that they're healthy during the day, have plenty of energy during the day to get through the day with their coursework. We just feel like the energy that they gather from good nutrition is very, very big.
One of the first steps we learn in Garden Club is how to prepare the soil to better grow our plants. And what's one of the first steps we need?
Fertilizer.
Fertilizer. So we're going to throw our fertilizer in, and then we're going to spread the soil around. And that way our plants will get the nutrients that they need to grow. Many nutrition-related health problems hit the Latino community harder. Statistics show that Hispanics are about twice as likely as whites to be diagnosed with diabetes.
We're starting to see diabetes in younger individuals among Latino communities at higher or disproportionate rates compared to in other communities.
Those health problems are made worse by living in food deserts or places lacking access to nutritious food, and food swamps or places with only unhealthy food options.
Neighborhoods that have a greater concentration of Latinos tend to fall in those categories, particularly food swamps more than food deserts, but really both.
Casper says one solution to nutrition-related health problems is simple: involve the children.
If I can get the word out that the kids are eating better, they're taking home things to share with parents, and they're cooking those things at home, the family then's eating better together as well.
Along with gardening, students learn about nutrition and health in the club, involving parents as much as possible.
We send home all sorts of vegetables, sometimes vegetables they're not familiar with, like kale. So they'll come up and ask me for more recipes or how to cook something, how they can grow it at home. If I have extra seeds I can give them.
To start a movement, you just have to plant a seed.
Here at the Keller Garden Club, we grow enough sweet peas in 1 year to give one flower to every single student. That'd be about 600 students.
Delaney's mother, Deborah, says the garden club inspired them to start a garden planter at home.
Oh, she's come home telling me all sorts of vegetables and fruits that not only can we grow, but we need to purchase if we don't grow them ourselves.
Delaney hopes that sweet peas are next on the list. The Arizona Department of Education says 25% of Arizona schools are engaged in farm to school, and another 25% are starting their programs.
Now that daylight savings time has ended for most Americans, research on its negative potential health effects is sparking a debate on how beneficial the century-old tradition really is. Sleep researchers at Northwestern Medicine in Chicago say the time change can pose a problem for adults. 1 in 3 who already get less than the recommended 7 hours of sleep, and losing that hour of sleep can also heighten the risk for heart issues in vulnerable Americans and can lead to more car accidents on roadways. Studies have linked the start of daylight savings time in the spring to a spike in car accidents. NBC Nightly News anchor Lester Holt received the Walter Cronkite Award for Excellence in Journalism this afternoon. Holt stopped by the Cronkite School to offer advice to students before accepting the award. He's the 36th recipient and spoke about the importance of journalism today.
This is an amazing and important moment for American journalism. Yeah, we're getting knocked around a little bit, called enemies of the people, but this is important to remember. No one is preventing us from doing our jobs, and so that's what we need to do, is do our jobs.
Holt received the honor for his work in the field of journalism, including anchoring the NBC Nightly News and moderating presidential debates.
Coming up next on Cronkite News at 5, harvesting hemp on the Navajo Nation.
What the USDA is doing to regulate one man's massive crop that's growing on tribal land.
And storm chances back in action this week after nearly a month of no rain across the state. We'll break down those details and temperatures coming up in just minutes.
Cronkite Noticias is the Spanish-speaking division of Cronkite News, covering topics such as economics, education, sustainability, immigration, and border relations. Cronkite Noticias strives to serve the Spanish-speaking community in Arizona. Under the guidance of prominent Spanish-speaking professionals, students at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism develop content for our broadcast partner, Univision, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Explore Cronkite Noticias at cronkitenoticias.azpbs.org.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, covering sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia.
From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
CBD products are everywhere right now, and the growing trend isn't only fashionable, it's also big business.
Cronkite News reporter Marcelo Bayoto spoke to one Navajo leader who has jumped at this opportunity, but some within his own tribe are saying not so fast.
It's important to clarify that hemp and marijuana are not the same. Even though they come from the same plant, marijuana is a recreational drug with a high THC percentage, while hemp is an agricultural crop and has less than 1% of THC. Industrial hemp is used in countless products, ranging from fabrics to lotions to oils and even dog treats. And the hemp industry has grown dramatically. It's projected that hemp-derived CBD products generated around $1.9 billion in 2018, and it's projected to grow to $20 billion by 2024 in the U.S., according to BDS Analytics, a company that keeps track of data on the hemp industry. Last Thursday, and for the first time ever, the United States Department of Agriculture is implementing interim regulations on hemp production for tribal lands and states. We went to Shiprock, New Mexico to see how this industry is already impacting the tribal community. In the heart of the Navajo Nation, not far from the Four Corners, millions of hemp plants are growing, many of them ready to be harvested. It's the first time this kind of plant is being grown on such a massive scale on the Navajo Nation. It's happening right now in Shiprock, New Mexico, all under the watchful eye of Dene Benally. He says hemp will help in providing the Navajo community with a natural alternative in health and wellness products.
Doing this project, I really got to know what our people are really made of. You know, what type of skill set, what kind of issues we're dealing with. Alcoholism, methamphetamines, opiates abuse, and I've got to experience and seen through a lot of the workers we've had on our farms.
For Harlan Joe, who's dealt with substance abuse, he says he's found a second chance at life on the farm where he manages workers harvesting.
I used to be an alcoholic too. I used to be on the streets, drink around Shiprock, and when Dene told me to take over, changed my life, you know.
This hemp will eventually become the main ingredient in Navajo Gold, the CBD company Benally started in early October. Hemp plants like these are turned into lotions, oils, and even edible gummy bears.
It doesn't have to be smokable.
Navajo Gold employee Anthony Lee calls himself a plant health advocate and says the Navajo Nation is an ideal place for the production of this crop.
Making hemp accessible for this community has a lot of benefits. We have land and we have water. For instance, we only use about 20% of the farmlands located along the San Juan River.
According to Benally, there's about 300 plus acres here. That's about 6,000 to 8,000 plants that he hopes to turn into products for his wellness center. And those 6,000 to 8,000 plants are just per 1 acre of land, meaning that Benally and his farmers are growing anywhere from 1.8 million to 2.4 million plants on tribal land. But as these plants have grown, so have the legal questions, which is why the USDA is finally stepping in, implementing interim regulations on hemp being grown on tribal lands.
We have our teams operating with all hands on deck to develop a regulatory framework that meets congressional intent while seeking to provide a fair, consistent, and science-based process for states, tribes, and individual producers who want to participate in this program.
In order for the provisional rule to go into effect, USDA Undersecretary Greg Eibach says it must first be published in the Federal Register.
We have been told by the Federal Register that will happen on October 31st. It includes, as the Secretary acknowledged, a public comment period that will allow USDA to seek input on the rule as it is enacted.
These provisional regulations will impact farmers like Benally, who possibly may now have to reevaluate their planting and harvesting process in order to meet USDA requirements. Some of these include maintaining relevant producer and land information, accurate and effective sampling testing, implementing a plan for disposal and inspection procedures, submitting proper collection information, complying with enforcement procedures, and certification proving the state and/or tribe has the proper personnel and resources needed. Up until now, Benally and Navajo leadership have not seen eye to eye on all aspects of hemp harvesting on the nation. Navajo President Jonathan Nez says any company intending to produce hemp on tribal land not only will now have to follow the new USDA regulations, it also needs approval by the Navajo Nation.
In recent years, under the Farm Bill, the federal government delegated that to Indian tribes throughout the country. And Indian tribes, once they get the regulations, the policies develop, then they can, in turn, proceed in that type of endeavor.
Benally, however, says it's not up to the Navajo Nation to decide who can grow hemp and who can't.
We have a treaty of 1868, and that treaty identified and indicated. And when they provided properties to the Navajo person, it was to the Navajo Indian, the Native American Indian. It was not to the Navajo Nation. There was no Navajo Nation. That's where it's gotten so confusing over the years.
Benally says his company is providing job opportunities for nearly 100 employees in a community dealing with high unemployment. One of those is Delbert Etzity,
cutting off the leaves, just getting the buds,
who's been working with the company for 7 months.
We proved them wrong. We're actually standing here and doing this right here just because we believed in something that couldn't be done.
As a leader of the Navajo, for the farmers, I'm not going to be in a position where we're going to start arguing with each other. We have to work together. That's all I realized, to get this going and take it to the next level.
Benally says his company will have no trouble meeting and even exceeding all the new regulations. USDA officials say they will use this upcoming 2020 planting season as a way to test drive the new interim rules. They're aiming to have permanent regulations in place within the next 2 years. In the studio, Marcel Bayeto, Cronkite News.
Jordan Evans is joining us now from the Cronkite Weather Center. I hear we've got some rain on the way, Jordan. What do we got?
Yeah, we do have storm chances coming back finally. And you know, Matthew, it's been about 38 days since we've seen a drop in the bucket at Phoenix Sky Harbor. So we are certainly seeing some drought come back into our state. We'll show you that in just a minute. But I want to compare the rest of the year to you right now and take a look at this. So far, we have only picked up about 3 3/4 of an inch since January 1st, and that is nearly almost 3 inches below normal for what we should be receiving. So when you put that on top of what we've been having for the rest of the year, we start to see drought begin to make its way back into our state. Notice all these orange shadings. That is severe drought, a level 3 out of 5, and mainly for portions of the high country and some portions of the Southeast Valley too. This map was completely gone, or actually this map was actually completely drought free, I should say, before the monsoon started because we had an extremely wet winter. So in order to put a dent in some of this drought, we're going to have to get some good soaking rains here in the valley. But what we're dealing with coming in this week is not just going to be enough. We got a weak storm coming in from the west, and by the time we get into Wednesday, we see those rain showers begin to fill in mainly for eastern portions of the state and southeastern Arizona too. Here in the valley, I think our rain chances are going to be about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch possible. But I think we're just going to see that storm system move out of here quick enough, and we won't see high pressure begin to move back in until we get well into the weekend, which means temperatures are going to be going up too, and we'll look at that here in just a minute. But right now, temperatures are in the 80s. We're just a little bit above the normal right now, and dew points are low and the winds are calm, so get ready for a really pleasant evening tonight across the valley. If you're heading out for dinner, 70s by the 7 o'clock hour, so I don't think you're going to need a jacket at all tonight. And as we take a look across the state for tomorrow, only a couple of freezes to track for you with 30 in Flagstaff, 25 at the Grand Canyon, and 50s for tomorrow morning in Payson, 53 in Sedona, and 64 degrees here in the Valley of the Sun. High temperatures across the lower deserts will warm up into those mid to upper 80s with 70s for places like Kingman's, Prescott, and Sedona. And those coolest spots will be in Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon, topping out in those mid to upper 60s too. So here's what the next 7 days look like. Rain chances again for the valley, only about a 20% on Wednesday, mainly during the morning hours. But remember, eastern Arizona will be favored most for those rain chances. But 80s, they're going to be staying with us for the rest of the week. Notice our average is only 81 for this time of year, and we're going to stay well above that for the next 7 days. And taking a look at the rest of November, we can't give you exact details exactly what temperatures will look like going in through the rest of the month, but long-range models are suggesting that the western portions of the country are going to remain warmer than normal. In the Cronkite News Weather Center, I'm Jordan Evans.
Thank you, Jordan. Up next, a high school football player is forced to medically retire.
We take you to senior night, where the team honored their fallen captain and show you how his future college is giving him more than just hope for his new role off the field.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
Welcome to another edition of Cronkite Sports Now. I'm Taylor Rocha. Let's talk sports.
For the latest on local sports and beyond, we've got you covered.
Let's do this thing.
We challenge reporters to go beyond, a game story. We want stories with depth.
It's just a crucial step from the college experience into the professional experience while you're still in school.
At Cronkite Sports Now, watch the journalists of tomorrow cover sports today.
Join us each week on Catalyst, the show that explores new advancements, technologies, and innovations at Arizona State University that are shaping the future for tomorrow and beyond. Catalyst, Wednesdays at 9, right here on Arizona PBS.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, covering sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
On the next Arizona Horizon, a look at the future of Colorado River water in Arizona, and a new method to strengthen concrete promises to cut construction costs and time. That's on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Amna Navaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, Judy Woodruff sits down with former Vice President Joe Biden to talk about the challenges he faces running for president. It's coming up after Cronkite News and Arizona Horizon on Arizona PBS.
A senior quarterback here in the Valley made national headlines when he announced he was forced to medically retire from the game he loves. Reeling from this news, the Pinnacle Pioneer fans and their players rallied behind their sideline signal caller. Cronkite News reporter Corey Kirk was there at the game on Friday night and has the entire story.
Under the Friday night lights, the Pinnacle Pioneer football team and their fans were there to acknowledge all of their seniors, including their quarterback who couldn't suit up with his brothers.
J.D. Johnson, escorted by his mom, Susan, dad, Dave.
J.D. Johnson this past Thursday announced via Twitter that due to a birth defect that caused a coarctation of the aorta in his heart, was deemed inoperable and was unable to clear him to play a contact sport, forcing him to medically retire from football. This came as a shock to the entire Pioneer program, as he had his sights set to be a Michigan Wolverine in the fall.
He means so much to this team, and just the kids ache for him, and he's one of their brothers.
With decals of number 10 on the back of their helmets, Johnson's teammates have shown nothing but love for their fallen captain since he broke the news to them.
It's been unbelievable. I knew that they were going to be there for me, and just the love and support that they've given me has really helped me through this.
All eyes were on freshman Devin Dampier, who after backing up Johnson all season was slated as QB1 against the Boulder Creek Jaguars. Though sidelined, Johnson knew that he had to be there for Dampier every moment he could.
I definitely felt some responsibility. I've been mentoring him all the way since spring ball and stuff like that, and I really look up to his character, and I know he looks up to me, and we push each other in practice, and so it was really important for me to be out here and just help him through anything that he was going through.
He jokes around, telling me good stuff, telling me how to bring the team up, having some leadership. So he's a great dude.
Though he is unable to perform on the field, Johnson will still be on his way to Michigan next fall, as they decided to honor his scholarship offer, which blew him away.
It meant so much to me, just knowing that Coach Harbaugh believes in me like that, and just the loyalty that I see from him is unbelievable, and I really appreciate it.
So now Johnson will still have football in his life, but in a different role. In Phoenix, Corey Kirk, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
And for top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.